and it seems like a fitting time to be orchestrating your life. Um, Tell me, did you go willingly or were you dragged into this by PJ here?
No, I went willingly, and I worked with PJ before. PJ did a couple of videos for an album I had called what was it called? I forgot what
Snake
it's called.
King.
The Snake King. Yes, a very disturbing record, and PJ was on board and did some two very incredible videos for that. So when he came up, we started talking about this. I was actually very excited that PJ was doing it because I know his work and I know it's the high quality, and I knew he captured some great stuff and edit some great stuff too.
So PJ, tell me about wrangling this guy into what is basically a documentary about his life with music interspersed. When did the eureka moment come?
Well, they had actually, Wayne, Rick's manager, had actually come to me saying that they wanted to basically just film the concert that he was doing with the Santa Monica High School Orchestra. And then as I started looking more and more into it, I felt what would make it a little more interesting, especially since the record in question was called Orchestrating My Life, that it'd be a great opportunity to do a little digging and just sort of weave throughout the concert some of the incredible story of Rick's life, which is, what immediately struck me when I started looking into Rick's background was the incredible extent of his career prior to his huge stardom. He had been around doing stuff for a long time on a relatively big level. And I just felt that was really interesting and that a lot of people, the casual fans, probably weren't really aware of.
I was thinking, Rick, you've been in several documentaries now. There is Dave Grohl's Sound City, and then there's Affair of the Heart, which is really more about the rabid Rick Springfield fans than you.
Yeah.
Although you make cameos and you're definitely a part of it. But now this one, you are definitely the central figure in this. How did that make you feel, being a peripheral character in these other ones? Did you feel like it was really time to just tell your story, and how did you feel about that? Because you did put out an autobiography, but this is different. We're in the golden age of music documentary right now. I feel like a lot of people are going to watch this, and it's really the story of your life.
Yeah, I was really happy actually when PJ suggested that we go a little deeper than just filming the concert. And apart from the story that it's the Santa Monica High School Orchestra, which is a kind of the original story in itself, that these kids from 14 to 18 playing all this amazing orchestral music that's been written for them. That's like a whole story in itself too. And my belief and PJ's belief about keeping music in schools. So that was the initial idea, and then PJ came up with the whole going deeper into my life with it, and I was on board.
And I wanted to do it and keep it as much in his voice as I could. I didn't want to turn it into a typical talking head thing where all these other people were, talking about this, that, and the other experience with Rick, yada yada. I just wanted to keep it in his voice as much as possible. I just felt it would just be more personal that way.
Well, PJ, every time I've watched the film a couple of times now, and the Vietnam stuff just grabs me every time I watch it, because I can't believe, we know that young men were sent to fight, but Rick Springfield accepted the call to go and play for the men who were sent to fight. Did you know anything about this? Were you surprised to find this out?
I didn't really until I started digging into his book beforehand. And it was one of the things that immediately struck me. It's like I was saying earlier, the extent of his career in show business prior to the whole world knowing who he was, starting with that era, was I just felt it was really, really fascinating. As such a young kid, as all of the soldiers were, to go to Vietnam. And it wasn't for like a USO show where you're playing in a big, well-secured base, you go in, you do a show, and you fly out. He was there for like 6 months playing near the front lines. And he has a lot of other stories that didn't make it into the film, but it seemed very, very harrowing, and it really seemed like it probably had a big impact on him, and that he had a little bit of what we now know to be PTSD when he got home, you know?
Yeah, Rick, if you could
Definitely.
speak to that a little bit, because I wonder how much of you playing in Vietnam informed who you would become as an adult.
Um, I think there was definitely some scarring done over there. I mean, I wasn't, I like PJ said, we were not a USO tour. We were sent out in helicopters in Hueys and dropped down in fire bases, which were basically just tents and barbed wire out in the middle of nowhere. And we'd get attacked. We'd be playing, and mortars would start landing, and they'd have to hurry us to a bunker. We got shot at often by our side. The South Vietnamese would be shooting at us. But it was pretty insane. I kept a diary over there, and I was actually reading it the other day, and it was there's some stuff in there even I forgot about. But it's all fear based. I came back, and my mom said I looked really thin and haunted, and like a car backfired, and I would jump, and I don't really remember it, but I was just really glad to be home.
What also struck me about the film, I mean, teenagers today, these kids, they're going through their own war, COVID war, right? And I was thinking as I was watching the film, it right away in the first 5 to 10 minutes, I was quite emotional because I was thinking this has been the longest time I've gone not being at a show, not being around. I wonder if you guys had the same reaction watching it. I mean, it's crazy, Rick, you have this song Human Touch, and I kept thinking that as I watched this, a concert, over 100 people on stage with you, Rick, a jammed audience. I miss it. Do you?
Absolutely, yeah. I occasionally I'll go, oh, don't touch that person. Why they're not wearing a mask, on the video. But it was before COVID, so it was okay. And the kid I pulled up on stage, I think I should have worn a mask. But yeah, it's weird. Every musician I know misses playing, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this because you couldn't do it now. I mean, I don't know when we'll be able to do what we did in this concert again. It's bizarre.
PJ, what about you? When you were watching it, were you thinking that? Did that enter your mind at all?
Oh yeah, believe me. And then we got derailed a bit in the post-production, largely due to COVID, and so a lot of while I was finishing it was during COVID. And yeah, I mean, I thought about that. Some of it seemed serendipitous, such as I had made a decision to end the show with Human Touch, which the actual show, not pulling away the curtain or any spoilers here, but the actual show didn't end with that song. It just seemed really fitting to me at the time. And then, once again, in hindsight, it seemed, really, fortuitous. Yeah. And then one of the kids that we talked to, she talks, the kids were just unbelievably smart and well-spoken, and just really, restored a little faith that I, in the youth of today for me. But, she goes on about how we live in a society where everyone could use, a little more human touch and human contact. And, once again, that was shortly before COVID, so I just thought the whole thing just wound up being very sort of oddly serendipitous,
I agree. It was, I left there going, oh, maybe there is hope for our future. These are sharp kids and talented, and they all were really focused and on something that I can't even do, read music.
You've been playing with professional orchestras around the country. What made you decide to go with a high school orchestra for orchestrating your life?
Well, I guess I thought it would be a unique thing. And having done something with them already, I realized that they could cut it. I was pretty sure they could cut it. plus, you know, I'm a big believer in keeping music in schools, and I thought that would be a plus to use that, you know, have these kids show what you know kids can do, young kids can really do. I mean, like I say in the movie, in the show, you're not going to get 60 scientists or, you know, 100 scientists out of this school, but you're going to get 100 musicians that have a shot at a, you know, a real career. And it, plus, you know, music hits you and it moves parts of your mind are utilized if you're a musician that aren't if you're not. And that's actually you know, they've proven it with wiring people up and looking at their brains, and so I would advise, you know, I mean, I love playing an instrument. I love being able to play instruments, and it's always it was great to see so many kids so adept at their instrument too. Was amazing. Yeah.
And his energy and him jumping around, like, I'm 20 years younger than him, and there's no way I could put that much energy out on stage these days. Just absolutely no way. I'd like throw out a hip or something, you know? And it's just, it's really
well,
remarkable.
That was one of the things with the orchestrating my life was I couldn't go out there and like do the rock show thing, you know, because it wouldn't work. It wouldn't look right, wouldn't feel right. So it forced me to almost take on another slightly altered persona. Like I make a joke about this is my, you know, Frank Sinatra moment kind of thing, but it does make you rethink. And I did automatically start to do things that I wouldn't do with a guitar strapped around me and a big loud band behind me. It does alter how you approach the songs and also what you do physically as well.
PJ, Rick just mentioned that you only had that one show, and the conductor mentioned in the film that he had one and only one rehearsal. Were you nervous? Was this going to go off the way you needed it to go off?
Yeah, let me tell you. And we didn't have much in the way of prep time at all either. Everything came down to the last minute before everything was locked in. So, yeah, and then we went the night before the show to film the kids with their one and only rehearsal with Wolf, the conductor. And it's funny because Rick talks about it in the film, like his impression when he was had first worked with the orchestra for a Christmas charity or what have you. Like, you know, he says in the film that he thought, oh my God, you know, what are they going to sound like? It's going to be like, oh, tune that thing. But then the second they started playing, all of, you know, me and my crew were all just like, whoa, like they sound amazing. You know, you get a little snippet of it in the film of them actually rehearsing, and that's the real sound. They were just absolutely mind-blowing. It was really, really magical.
So you guys are releasing this film, Orchestrating Your Life, on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day has long been an important day on the Rick Springfield fan calendar. It seems kind of appropriate. It also seems important to celebrate love right now. Tell me about your decision to have it on this day and what your plans are with the release of the film.
Valentine's Day, you know, I think a lot of it was timing. I think if it were up to us, this might have come out a year or so ago. But it seemed like a perfect time, like you said. I mean, one of Rick's big things that he does live is the roses on the guitar thing. So it's kind of a thematic thing. Also, one of the things that struck me early on in this project, beyond, as I said earlier, the extent of Rick's career pre-superstardom, was also his enduring relationship with his wife and how great the two of them are together and how wonderful she is and just how absolutely warm and modest and cozy their house is. And I just find that to be a really endearing aspect of Rick, is him and his wife's love story that's gone for what, Rick, 7 years now?
Yeah. I mean, we started dating just before Working Class Dog came out, actually. So, yeah, 40 years.
Oh, so yeah, a long time. And then I wanted to make that a definite like thread throughout the film, which I did, you know. So it just seems appropriate. There's a whole section in the film that's sort of discussing their relationship and Rick talking about how much she meant to him early on, and her encouragement, how it really helped propel him to do a lot of the stuff he did early on that then propelled him into the superstardom.
Yeah, she gave me a lot of belief in myself, and a lot of she lessened the tension. Like, it didn't matter if something didn't work, you know, we were together. It kind of, she really was absolutely responsible for my launch. Just our connection, and a lot of the songs are about her.
I
A
bet.
lot of the original songs.
So where do you go from here now? Because I seem to think that you've ticked every box, and then there's a blues album, and then there's always something. What hasn't been done yet, Rick? I mean, teenagers playing your songs in an orchestra. It's like there's no limit. What is so out there that you don't think will happen, but it just might?
Well, one of those albums will be coming out shortly. And if you think Snake King was weird, this is delving even deeper. And I don't know. I love to write. I'm already thinking about another novel, and I'm thinking about other music, and looking. You know, obviously acting is kind of partially off the table at the moment till we can actually all get together again. But I love what I'm doing, and you know, the Orchestrating My Life thing was a great opportunity to do something, you know, really different with some really familiar songs. And I'm just open to you know, to anything, basically.